Hello, I'm Nichole Davis, Growth Facilitator with There's Still Life, and I am so excited to have two very good friends of mine here today in celebration of Father's Day this Sunday. We have Pastor Larry Thomas and Minister Rashide Russell, who are going to talk to the men today about humility and forgiveness as it relates to fatherhood. So enjoy.
Hello everyone, I'm Pastor Larry Thomas, the Connection Church here, sharing with There's Still Life Ministries and Minister Nichole Davis. He's done an excellent job of creating a forum for men to share and hear encouragement. So I'm here with my good friend, Minister Rashide Russell, one of the associate ministers here at the church. And we're going to talk about men's stuff in just a couple moments. We talk about forgiveness and humility and fatherhood and how they all work together. So Rashide, when you hear fatherhood and then you hear me spin humility and forgiveness on top of that, what do you hear?
Gosh, first off, when I hear fatherhood, I think protector, I think priest of the home, and I think provider. And so when I look at that from a humility and forgiveness perspective, I think sometimes, as fathers, we can be a little bit overbearing, especially as it relates to our kids. Sometimes we can be overbearing when it relates to our wives. I know you're not that type and I'm not that type, but some of us can be a little extra and want all of our needs met without giving the proper thank yous or the proper feeling back to that particular individual. And so when I think of myself as a father, I think of being humble enough to understand that Christ put me in that role, and I'm meant to be an example or a representative of who he was in the earth to the church. And when I take that into consideration, it gives me a better understanding of how that should look.
I like that. I think for me, when we look at fatherhood and forgiveness, I'm challenged to look forward and look behind, to forgive the sins of my father or his shortcomings as I walk out fatherhood and I look at my shortcomings having to deal with my kids. It humbles me to take away any of the anger or malice that I had towards him. There's no book for this, and it's just what you said. Sometimes we're so selfish, so focused on our own needs that sometimes we can miss the fact that we're not hitting the mark all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm humbled in this role, and then I have to operate forgiveness in this role. And hopefully, you kind of see some of that too as you look at your parenting skills and you look at where you came from. You can kind of see where you thought Dad missed it, and in actuality, he didn't have to give you what it was that you needed. And so I can't fault him for not having what I needed, because maybe he didn't have it either, but he gave me what he could.
But yeah, looking at my son and some of the expectations that I had for him growing up as a young man and what I wanted to see come out of him as a young adult, I never looked back on myself and looked at it and say, did I actually model that the proper way? Did I model forgiveness the proper way?
I think that there's some self-reflection that takes place inside of fatherhood. But then for me, a lot of times I would see bits of me and my kids, and it was the parts of me that I didn't like, that I was harder on. What I learned is not so much to try to beat it out of him, to nurture it.
That's good.
Because you didn't just wake up like that. You got that from someplace.
Amen.
So it becomes my job as father to say, okay, let me show you how not to do that. Just what you were saying. Have you modeled the example? Have you created a balanced experience for the kid? And only time will tell.
Yeah.
And so what I've had to do is ask my kids to forgive me for the moments I failed, and to have enough humility to say, hey, I know there were some moments I didn't get this right. So if you grew up without having your father there, be committed to the kids that God has given you each and every day, and then work on forgiving your father for not being there.
Yeah. Sometimes when you grow up without the other half of what you absolutely need as an individual, it's kind of like missing certain nutrients that you needed to grow up. And so there are going to be certain things about you that may be lacking. But the fact of the matter becomes, the older we get, the more responsible we become, the more accountable we become for the things that we place now in our lives, that we have to be intentional about seeking out those extra nutrients that we need, those extra vitamins, those extra minerals that we felt that we were lacking. And I think the best place to get that is from finding mentors.
You're going to have daddy issues no matter what, whether they were there or if they weren't. If they were there, it's possible to be present and absent at the same time.
Wow.
And when you're dealing with, someone who was there as provider but not there as nurturer, who was there as an example but who wasn't there as an affirmer, you're going to have some issues. So if their father is still alive and there's still time for relationship and reconciliation, there is always time. You want to spend your adult years mending the relationship, not being afflicted from it. So once again, humility and forgiveness consistently kick in, where you have to, humble yourself to say, okay, they weren't perfect, and then operate in forgiveness, and then pursue a relationship at some level, even if it's teaching them to tell you what you need to hear. For a long time, I had to tell my dad, hey, you got to say this to me. Tell me you love me. Tell me that I'm a good man. Some men have never been hugged by their fathers. And so those brothers, you have to go initiate a hug. Your father gives you a handshake, a high five. From time to time, I just take a hug, and he don't really know how to deal with it because his father never hugged him. So I initiated a thing with him. I hug him whenever I want to, and my sons hug me.
Minister Rashide Russell, I'd like to wish all the fathers out there happy Father's Day. I think it's important, especially when we're looking at the environment that our kids are growing up in now, that we are present today, that we're present, that we present the right example for these young men growing up, and also these young women. I just encourage all of us that are fathers to get around each other, to be in some peer groups, to talk to each other, to kind of dialogue and get to a place to where we can be honest with each other for the things that we may be missing and that we may be lacking. We can come together as a community. We can get those things back into our environments properly, and then we go for what we have to go for, and that's getting back our young people.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, whether you're a biological father, stepfather, standing in the gap, being a father, being an uncle, being the man to somebody. That's an important role. Eat some cake, drink some punch, enjoy the day. You deserve it. Spend some time working on you, do some self-reflection. I'll encourage any man watching to come out to the Connection Church. We have Men's Mondays. It's a casual time of hanging out and fellowshipping with the brothers. We have open, honest conversations about where you are and what you need. It creates an opportunity for some accountability, but also a time for transparency and sharing, which every man needs, a place where they can be safe and tell everybody what they're really dealing with. Too often as men, we're told to just buck up and take it. I want to encourage any man who's looking for some place to be accountable, looking for some place to be loved, to be accepted, come out to Men's Mondays. I'll encourage every man to soak up the time with your kids. Make Father's Day more than just gifts and dinner, but actually sit and remind the people who call you dad that you love them, because that's what they're going to remember the most. When the ties don't fit and the cards can't be found, love must remain. So happy Father's Day.